Dr. Scott, tell us about some of the tricks that are used in presenting these studies for drugs.
Yeah, there are so many. I have 10 in my book, America Fooled. But for example, you would expect that most of the subject entering the study would go all the way to the end of the study. And if you have a lot of dropouts, that the validity of that study is questionable.
Okay.
In reality, of the 47 studies leading to the approval of the first 6 antidepressants, only 4 of those studies, 4 out of 47, had as many as 70% make it to the end. That tells me you cannot trust whatever results they have.
Well, yes. I mean, do the arithmetic, right?
Yeah, do the arithmetic, sure. So another trick is that they do what was called a placebo washout. In other words, they give everyone a placebo, a sugar pill, and those who respond very well, they remove those from the study.
The ones who responded well to the placebo.
Those who respond very well to the placebo.
Okay.
Why would they do that? Because they know they're going to be comparing their drug with that placebo. They want people who begin to sense, because these drugs do have effect. They dry out your mouth. So just that effect would be enough. So if you give an antidepressant and it dries out your mouth, you're thinking, I've got the real drug. But if you also have people who respond very well to a placebo, even a sugar pill, they lower the effectiveness, in effect, of your study. It says that antidepressant may not have worked any better than the placebo.
So how do they juggle those numbers
So
again?
they simply remove people, usually after about 2 weeks, they remove those subjects who responded very well to a placebo.
This is working for you. We need for you to leave.
Yeah, basically this drug is working so well, it's a sugar pill, that we can't have you in our study anymore. So,
Okay.
of course, they're not told really why
Right,
they're dismissed,
exactly.
but they're replaced with other subjects. Well, that's absolutely unfair. Another fact I think is one of the most amazing of all, and I think that very few people taking these drugs today have any idea that this would be true.
All right.
These drug studies are not long-term studies.
How
The
long are we talking?
longest of the 47 studies, the longest of those studies was an 8-week study. So these studies are very, very, very short, and they do not tell us what are some of the adverse events that we can anticipate after 6 months or a year or 5 years or longer. And so people are put on these drugs, and many of these people have been on drugs not just for 6 weeks or 2 months or 6 months. They're on these drugs literally for years.
It sounds more than just deceptive here. How many millions of people are on these antidepressants?
1 in 10 today, 1 in 10 Americans are taking these drugs. And so what are the health consequences going to be? They're going to be huge. We already know that you have a huge increase in diabetes. With antidepressants, it's about 2 to 3 times as much diabetes in some age groups. With antipsychotics, it's much greater than that. We know that liver damage is very real. We know that weight gain is a common side effect of antipsychotics. It's virtually universal. We know that tardive dyskinesia for both antipsychotics and antidepressants develops. That one really concerns me. It's one of my greatest concerns because it's irreversible. It's permanent. We're talking a movement disorder that will disturb a person's life the rest of their life. They can have jerking, they can have tongue thrusting, it can manifest itself in various ways, but it's tardive dyskinesia, meaning tardive, like tardy, the word tardy, it develops late. It doesn't develop the week you start taking the drug. It develops late, sometimes a year, sometimes 10 years, but it can develop at some point in the future after you begin taking that drug. And dyskinesia mean movement disorders that aren't good. And so these people are going to have a problem. Very many people taking these drugs today have no idea that this is coming. And so the health consequences are terrible.
Thank you, Dr. Scott.
You're welcome.